Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wrestling Conversations. So the interview for this episode is Mike Kanik, and Mike, along with Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, is a co-owner of the Major Bendies and Big Rubber Guys toy lines. So we're going to talk all about that. If you don't know what those are, those were offshoot of the WWF LJN figures back in the 80s and the WWF Bendham figures in the 1990s. So we're going to talk all about those different toy companies, kind of what their process is, and we also get into some other figure talk about what Mike is collecting currently kind of towards the end of the episode. So if you're not a figure fan, might not be the episode for you, but this is a really good story about how Mike got to start with the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, and just an inspirational story across the board, just a good example of if you really want to achieve something, just putting in the work and kind of making it happen. So Mike shares a lot about that. So please give this conversation a listen. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wrestling Conversations. So today we have a very special guest, Mike Kanik. Mike, how are you today?
Just living the dream of making half-naked men for people to admire.
And I want to get into what your typical day looks like, because we've had some discussions off air that made me like, wow, there's quite the life that you live. But I'm going to have a hard time not calling you Kanik. So I'm sorry if I slip up a time or two. You're probably used to it at this point, but
I am.
Yeah, I think that's when I was first introduced to you. It was Kanik, and then I don't know when that was. I listened to an interview that you did probably several years ago, and it's like, oh, it's not Kanik, it is Kanik. So I'll try to keep that straight.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And now you're you have a trademark on your last name. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually have the trademark behind me. I got it because my oldest brother was filming a reality TV show with Gordon Ramsay, and he was thinking of all the great things that was going to happen after the show. Spoilers for anyone who didn't who didn't watch. My brother wins the show. So he was thinking very highly of the future, and I spoke to Dawkins and I said, I want to mess with my brother. Can I get the trademark to my last name and send him a cease and desist? And that's what we did.
Oh,
So
that's good stuff.
he was promoting the show, and I had to break the news to him that he cannot use his last name.
That's pretty good stuff. So to give you a little bit of a background too. So I am married, and my wife is, she knows wrestling. She had never watched any sort of wrestling before we got married, or before we started dating, stuff like that. So she thinks it's cool because I like it, but she doesn't know the ins and outs. But
Yeah.
I made the remark to her, like, that I'm gonna have this guy on my show. He's involved with Major Bendies, all these things. And it's like, oh, cool. And then I'm like, yeah, and his brother's pretty interesting too. Like, he was on the Gordon Ramsay show, and she's a big a cooking show person, so she knew all
Okay.
about that, and that was totally mind blowing for her. So
Oh, that's cool.
it's just funny, the things that people gravitate towards, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wanted to start with this too. So we were setting this interview up, and kind of going into what your day to day kind of looks like. So I asked him, like, okay, does like 7:30 Eastern work? And you're like, AM or PM? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, who's functioning at 7:30 AM? So, and then also before we
This
started
guy.
recording, you're like, yeah, like, I have to be ready for emails and stuff from China for stuff with Major Bendies and stuff like that too. So
Yeah.
let's start before we get into anything else. What does a day to day look like for you? Because that is probably not the schedule of a typical person.
No, it's not. Let's start from midnight. Let's start. I do it this way. Um, I go to bed usually around 11 o'clock in the morning to midnight, and I sleep for a few hours, and I will probably wake up around 3 or 4 o'clock um in the morning and talk to China, email, um, make sure everything's okay. That's usually around 7 a.m. I'll say for TTD, so I can send him pics of what they showed me. and videos and see what he has to say. If he's up, he'll respond fairly quickly about it, so I can instantly send it back to China. Um, and then I'll say around 4 o'clock. It depends on the day. Let's say I wake up at 3. I'll talk to China for like about 45 minutes to an hour. Go back to bed. Wake up around 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and do that all over again. Just, check on final stuff. China usually is about to, finish up their day around that time. So I have probably like another hour or so with them. Um, and then I drink a black coffee, a large energy drink, preferably Ghost now, the Swedish fish flavor, or the blue sour patch. Um, and then I shower, do all the proper hygiene stuff, and I just manage the website, check to see everything's going well with the marketing. The website didn't blow up. Make sure the product inventory, do accounting stuff, all that fun stuff that people probably don't realize that it has to happen for a company to function.
Mhm. For sure.
Um, and then I start printing out labels. I go pack everything. I either drop them off at the post office or I wait for UPS. But it's just like weird, tedious stuff throughout the day of, all right, I gotta contact this person, I gotta contact that person, dealing with retailers, dealing with contracts with the talent, um, just all these like day to day things that you wouldn't imagine. Like I was in meetings all yesterday about a new warehouse because we got a new storage space um just a few months ago and we already outgrew that. So,
Which is a good problem to have, but still more work for you to figure out.
yeah, it's a good problem to have. So, I found this new warehouse distribution center that will, store all our stuff and ship it all out. So it frees up a lot more time for me. So then I can focus on getting new licenses and getting new contracts done. Focusing on the marketing, um, and doing more things that we can grow this company into a larger scale. And that's the dream. Um, I want to make sure that we could be the next Jazzwares. We could be
Mhm.
the next Mattel, or Hasbro, or Jax, or whatever. I want this to be a thriving company in a larger scale than it is now, where I can hire, major marks and fans, because that's not what I was able to do in my previous jobs,
Mhm.
where we were, I came from two pop culture companies previously, and I wasn't allowed to hire the people I wanted to hire because they didn't have the credentials that people were looking for in the hiring team. And I think that's all bullshit. I would rather hire people that I know that can get the job done. I don't care where they went to school, what they majored in, what their previous experience was.
Mhm.
If I think someone is good for the job, I want to hire them. And
Mhm.
if you have a passion for this industry, I think you're a right fit.
100%. I mean, clearly I'm not working in the space that you are too, but just that I think you could apply that philosophy to anything where there's so much placed on like,
Anything.
yeah, what you do for college and what yeah, like you said, what you major into. And it's really like I think you're hiring the person, not necessarily their
Yeah.
background and what they've studied, all those things. Yeah, I would totally agree too. For anyone that doesn't know, and I'm assuming most people that are listening to this know kind of some of your history too, so we'll bounce around that a little bit here. But um, so where did you get lined up with Matt and Brian on this road to major bendies, big rubber guys? From what I remember too, like I remember seeing you the first time in a YouTube video when you were working for Eagle Moss. Like that's like when I first
Yeah.
remember seeing you. That was the very first time that I made that connection. When was that actually when it happened? Did you guys get in touch before that?
Touched before that. I actually Um, I I it was really just me buying a T-shirt um from their promotion that, if you bought a T-shirt, I'll give you a call thing that they did early on. And I was a day one listener of the podcast. I was working at a Fortune 500 marketing agency. I was making very good money. I had a great 401k, great health insurance, great dental. I had the dream job that most people wanted because you could walk in whenever the fuck you wanted and leave whenever the fuck you wanted, and no one questioned. And it was a great paying job. I was just miserable at it because I'm one of those guys. I have to be busy to, you know, keep my mind sane. And it's the job was boring for me. I did not like it. It was in pharmaceutical marketing. Um, I was working for my main client is the top pharmaceutical company in the world, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I was listening to the podcast, and I said, "This is what I got to do. I got to go into collectibles." And I've done stuff on the side, um, stuff with comics and stuff. And I was like, I need to figure out a way how to turn that into the 9 to 5. And I went on LinkedIn, typed in collectibles or toys or whatever, and I've got a result for Eagle Moss, and I applied for the job. It was in marketing, but it was you know a significant pay cut from what I was doing. When I said in my mind, I'll do this for a pay cut, but it's going to lead me into something bigger. Um, so I applied, got a job interview the next day, got a job offer probably like a week or two later. And my first week there, Matt and Brian called me while I was on the job, and I told them how they inspired me to um, take this job and seek it out. And I said, and we actually have the WWE license that I'll be working on. Eagle Moss was doing the WWE statues, and Matt kind of just asked my Instagram handle, start following me. Um, Pretty sure he just wanted free product, and we kind of just started talking through DMs a little bit. Um, and I would say later on, he asked about foam fingers on the podcast, and I had worked at a previous job that I worked with China on making all these like weird items, mainly for like Chase Bank, Yankee Stadium, MetLife, all that stuff. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I can make foam fingers for you." And he said, "How long will it take?" And I said, "I can get it done like in 2 or 3 weeks." Um, and he trusted me into doing that. I did it for him, and that's how I kind of just became the merch guy for the podcast. And during the pandemic, I was helping the guys out with like weird things, and I had the idea of doing wrestling buddies, and I messaged Matt and I said, "Hey, I have this idea. I think I can get this done. I think it could be done exactly like the original wrestling buddies." And he had zero faith in me, but he said, "If you can show me a prototype, I'll fully fund it." And I had a prototype for him like within a week, and he said, "This isn't exactly what I was looking for, but we're on the right track. Let's do this." And he helped fund the wrestling buddies, and it probably took us 3 months to have it in hand, and we sold out in the first day. And after I packed all those orders, I said, we have something in hand, right? Like that's that's the business model, but it's
Yes.
not wrestling buddies. It has to be something that can be collectible, and something that people can take to conventions and get signed. and
Mhm.
I had just bought a bunch of Bendems from Wrestling Universe in Queens, and I said, "That's it. It's it's Bendies." So I sat on the idea for a while, and I casually mentioned it to Matt and Brian because I knew I needed their help in getting it done,
Mhm.
with the money aspect, with the talent reach, um, you know, their creativity. Matt and Brian are very hands on with the designs, um, with for the figures. But I knew I could handle everything else. I could be the
Mhm.
logistics guy. I could make sure that,
Mhm.
this runs smoothly.
Mhm.
So I casually mentioned it to them because I didn't want them to think I was just trying to use them.
Mhm.
Um, it was we were close, but we weren't as close as we are today. Where
Mhm.
I consider them my brothers because we talk literally every fucking day. I'm getting a bunch of text messages from them right now. Um, so I casually mentioned it, and they quickly. Brian called me. I'll never forget. Brian called me and said, "This is a legit business. We need to do this. Let's go." And we tested it out with Series One, and you know, we sold 1,000 units um, off the bat, off the for those, and
And that's a
uh,
huge number
it,
right off the bat. I mean, it's just a brand new
yeah,
thing like that can't be understated for sure to have that many units because it's like and things grow over time too, where you guys have produced dozens of
yeah,
figures and but to start off with 1,000, that's a pretty good first start.
yeah. I mean, we've done over 100 designs since then, and we we've sold thousands of figures. Um, but I was doing all this while still having a 9 to 5 job.
Mhm.
I think at the time of Series One, I was still working at Eagle Moss. Um, or I had, yeah, I think I was still working at Eagle Moss, and I um I was very unhappy there, but I knew I couldn't leave that job just yet. Um, I because I knew I wanted to do Bendy's full time. I just knew I couldn't do it just yet. There was still a lot of stuff that had to be grown for it
Mhm.
to become a full time gig. And I had left Eagle Mouse and I went and I started working at another company. And I was just very unhappy there. I thought
Mhm.
that was going to be the answer to all my problems. I thought I could still just do major bendies on the side. And within a month, I knew uh, this was not the answer, that I had to figure out a way to make major bendies the full time thing. So I was lucky enough that I worked there remotely and I was able to still do major bendies a little
Yeah,
bit
that
more.
helps.
Yeah. A little bit more without anyone knowing. So it was good, and I kind of just sat back and learned from this other company's mistakes on what they were doing. Um but I also got to I picked the brains on the purchasing team, and you know what are people looking to buy, right, and sell on their site, um which helps me now when I talk to retailers for major bendies. And that's probably one of the reasons why we're in Diamond Distribution, and we're in Big Bad Toy Store, with Ringside Collectibles, and I'm talking to other major retail stores already. um so I always say you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can connect the dots looking backwards.
Mhm.
So everything
Mhm.
happened for a reason.
For sure.
Eagle Moss, I took that pay cut, and a lot of people thought I was an idiot for doing so. Um, but if it wasn't for me getting that job, I wouldn't have been able to reach out to Matt and Brian the way I did, right?
Yeah, for
and have
sure.
something to talk to them and communicate. And if I didn't take the job at the other company, I wouldn't have learned the ways I did with the retailers and the partners and figuring out stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so it all that background helped me um, take Major Bendies to where it is now, and I thank all that experience for the success that Major Bendies has now.
For
Um,
sure.
but it's very it's surreal, and I'm sure there's stuff that's going on now that you know everything is just banging my head on stuff. There's a lot of logistic problems, and it's all going to be a learning tool for something now that I'm sure I'll do in a year from now, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
say, "Holy crap! I got here because I had this one
Mhm.
issue."
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's just that's the story of how I got to this point.
No, it's one of those things too. And I don't know where I saw this. I saw it must have been on like a YouTube short. I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or some celebrity, right? They talked about like, okay, how can you make your passion kind of like your job too? And I think he said the same thing as you. Like, okay, doesn't mean you just go and quit that job, right? Like you work that
Right?
job, and then behind the scenes, you're putting everything you have into the side project until that can
Yeah,
become your main project. And I'm not trying to kiss your ass too much, but it is like pretty much the American dream right there, basically. Where it's just like, okay,
yeah,
if something's going to happen, no one's going to make it happen for you. Like you have to take those steps. And that's the part I think where most people get caught up on, where it's like, okay, to take that pay cut, like you have to take a risk. And that's the
yeah,
part that people tend to not be real comfortable with.
yeah. I mean, going back to the risks, it's so I had this job, and it was a decent paying job. It was a lot more than what Eagle Moss was paying me. Nothing like what the marketing agency was paying me, but it was that money was stupid. And but it was um, it was WrestleMania last year. I thought, I knew I was leaving that company. I just had a plan um of December December 20. I keep on getting my years wrong. It's December 2023, I guess, right? Um, that was my plan, that I was gonna leave December 2023 or January 2024. Um, and we're in April now. Um, I don't know if I've actually mentioned the true story of what happened uh anywhere. I But what happened was, I was at WrestleMania. I'm on my flight heading back home from LA to New Jersey, and my phone just starts blowing up, and it's like all these Microsoft Teams notifications, and it's like everyone's going crazy. The company is shutting down. Well,
Oh
just
wow.
the US office, at least. And so everyone's being laid off, and everyone's going crazy, and people are crying, and I'm on the Teams video chat, and I turn my camera off, and I just put my head up. I was like, this is the biggest fucking relief I've ever had. I felt like I took a Taco Bell shit. Like, because I wanted out, but now at least, like, I got a severance package. I got a freaking parachute. And I said, I'm giving myself 6 months to figure out how to turn Major Bendies into the full-time gig. And if I
Mhm.
can't find something within 6 months, um, then I'll find another 9 to 5 job.
Mhm.
And I had so many friends, because Major Bendies was making money. It just wasn't making a salary for
Right, right.
someone.
Mhm.
It was like, it was legit still a side gig. Um, I was not making a lot of money. Um, and I was having like panic attacks. I was being very nervous about things, as I think most people would be. And I had a lot of friends telling me, just give up, go find another job. Give up, go find another job. And I said, no, 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 it's here. I think the big rubber guys is gonna change the game and be the thing. And I had a lot of confidence, but it's just like you start second guessing yourself, and then a lot of people start getting into your head. And what I realized was you got to block all the background noise and just
Mhm.
focus on your mission.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. And within 6 months, once we released series one of Big Rubber Guys, and we almost sold out instantly. I said, okay, this is this is the proof of concept that I need to show that this is going to become a full
Mhm.
time job. And then we did series two, which did okay in sales, which was the demolition. Demolition did
Mhm.
it actually doubled in sales of what series one was. And then I said, okay, I got something. I'm not too concerned anymore. I can give myself more than that 6 months
Mhm.
leeway. And then series three came out, and it dipped a little bit in sales, and I said, I'm fine. It's just a hiccup on the road. And now we're outselling all those series. Um, we got the retail partners, we have the distribution,
Mhm.
we have a lot of great feedback from the fans. Um, and now we're able to reinvest into the company. I'm making more money than I ever have at a 9 to 5 job now. So, you eat a little shit for a while, and then you're fine. Um, you just gotta focus and have some self aware of what needs to be fixed, what needs to be solved.
Mhm.
Um, talk to the fans, talk to the customers. I read all the fucking message board stuff, even though I probably shouldn't, because there's a lot of people who hate me. Um, and I took all that into consideration, and I just when you do it, you sometimes you have to do an audible, and you've got to change the game plan,
Mhm.
but stay on the game plan and focus
Mhm.
and just get the job done.
One of those things I feel like, oh, and first of all, I think figure fans are very, very fickle to begin with, like as our wrestling fans, but really that's something that's just
It
like
happens everywhere.
it happens absolutely everywhere too. And it's I would assume that it's got to be one of those things where it's like, okay, you have to know when to take the advice, take the criticism, and when it's just noise that it's like, okay, this isn't this isn't even worth my time to even look at, right? Those sort
Yeah.
of things. But okay, how does it at this point? Like you guys have made some of like some of the top names in the business that are not signed to legend contracts or to to Jazzwares, things like
Yeah.
things like that too. And I think the biggest thing I know that like Matt and Brian also go over this a lot too, that okay, everything's fully licensed, and just like the amount that you're able to give to the talent that are participating in those contracts. I think they just talked about a story of like, okay, I think it was, I don't remember who it was. Anyway, but like, okay, this is the biggest check this person's got for a figure in the last,
Oh
probably in
yeah.
decades,
Well, I
right?
mean, so we've actually had a few of those. A lot of that's so. I'll say this. Going back to eating shit for a while, there's a lot of stuff. There's talents who've made a lot more money than what we've made on some of these bendies. Because we had a very high success in the beginning
Mhm.
on selling units, and then it kind of trickles down. And I think there was like that same issue with a lot of um, collecting companies. Super Seven was going through it, Hasbro's going through it,
Yeah.
where there was a big bubble during the pandemic of people buying collectibles, and then once the world opened again, you saw a huge dip on that. So we probably opened a collectible company in the best time and the worst time.
Mhm.
We had very high success in the beginning, and then you saw those numbers go down.
Mhm.
A lot of these bendies, we do not make 1,000 units anymore.
Mhm.
We don't even do half of that
Mhm.
sometimes. There's some people that We
Mhm.
do the bare minimum.
Mhm. Right. Yep.
um, but but it's cool to have those people in there.
Mhm.
Um, so what I was getting at was there's people who are getting checks and making a lot more money than we were on these bendies,
Mhm.
but they were so thankful for it because one, it was their first figure. Two,
Mhm.
they're getting paid more than they ever had on
Mhm.
certain things, and some of these legends don't have anything to fall back on. You know, they have these
Mhm.
signings and stuff, but that's about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's so rewarding having someone come to you and legit hug you and say thank you for making a figure of me.
Mhm.
Thank you. I I was able to pay my rent with this royalty check. It's all those type of things. But I think the guys mentioned on the podcast, we handed Hacksaw Jim Duggan close to, I'm not gonna say the number, I don't know if they said it, but he got a very good royalty
Mhm.
check.
Mhm.
And that was his second royalty check.
Mhm.
Um and his wife legit hugged me, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Whatever you need, you let me know. This is the most we've ever been paid for something. This is incredible." And she legit went around to the talents and said, "Don't do
Mhm.
business with any other toy company but these guys. These guys are legit." And legit, I tried to speak to some of these guys earlier in the day, and they all kind of like, yeah, 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 yeah. By the end of the day, I had sold out of all my product that I brought to the convention, and I had a line of talent coming to meet me because they want a contract.
Yeah.
So you can't beat that publicity, and it's
Right.
so rewarding that people that you looked up to as a kid and still do
Mhm.
um, want to work with you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of those things that I think like there's no better endorsement than the people that are consuming that product, but also the people that you guys are working with and the talent that you're signing to. So if they're saying, okay, fans are happy, talent's happy too, it's like that can go so much further than you guys saying, hey, this is the best thing ever. Buy our stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
just having that endorsement constantly. Like if I like I'm not in the realm that you guys are in, so I'm a speech therapist for my job, and it's like okay, if one of my
Oh, I need your
patients
help then.
one of if and I kind of specialize in working with people that have had brain injuries and all like neurological based things too. So if one of my patients tells me
Okay.
like, hey, and they tell other people like, hey, this is where you should go to get some help if you need it for this and this and this, right? Like that's going to go so much further than me telling someone, oh yeah, I could help you, like things like that. Like if you have an endorsement from the consumers of whatever product you're selling or whatever service, like that's I feel like is such a huge part of it. And you guys definitely have that.
Yeah, it's not even, we have it with the talent and we have it with the fans, and
Mm,
then the new people that just find us at a show. Um, so like I said before, this is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life, and you know, um, going back to it, it's like you eat shit for a while and you somehow get rewarded if you
mhm,
put the hard work into it.
for sure. And you guys have have done some great figures too. Like in a lot of big names too. Is there one that stands out? Not necessarily just for the figure itself. I mean, certainly you could take that avenue too. But is there one project that kind of holds a special place in your heart for whatever the reason may be?
Yeah, so uh I have a few. I did the first Danhausen figure, and Danhausen's now become a very good friend. Um, I love him, and I thank him for all the support he's done for Major Bendies. We have the Ric Flair figure that I lied to Conrad Thompson about being able to get done in the short time that he provided, and I was able to actually get it done
What was
faster
the
than.
what was the window that he said, hey? Because I remember hearing that there was short notice, but I don't remember like how did he say,
Yeah,
okay, hey, you got how long was that
y-
that he said, okay, can you get this done?
3 months.
Wow, that's a that's a quick turnaround.
3 months, and this is when during the time where you know people were having trouble getting baby formula. and
Yeah.
toilet paper. So um, I completely lied and said yeah because I just wanted the license to Vic Flair. Um, and I look at my wall, by the way. I have all the major bendies on my wall like wallpaper. But the Vic Flair, he gave us 3 months, and I got it in hand in 2.5. So Vic Flair had enough time to sign them so they can have it for his last match, and that was really cool because um, I went to the show with Corporate Steve from Mattel, and we walked by the merch table, and you just saw a storm of people going and running and buying these Ric Flair figures. And Steve just looked at me and said, I hope you're taking this in and you're proud of yourself. And you should, the feeling you must have should be enormous right now. Um, because we just legit stood back and watched these storms of people. People were buying them by the cases and stuff.
Mhm.
It was insane, and that was cool that I was able to get that done, and be part of such a huge moment in Ric Flair's history. Ric Flair actually came and shook my hand backstage
Oh wow.
and said thank you for everything you've done. But I'm also 98% sure he has no idea who the fuck I am or what I did. I think he was just saying
Right.
that to everyone. But it was cool. I'm gonna
It
make
was
believe
cool. Yes.
yeah. Um, but yeah, and then um, Hacksaw is another one because I was just such a huge Hacksaw Jim Duggan fan as a kid, and he is legit one of the nicest people you can ever meet. If anyone says something bad about Hacksaw, that person is in the wrong. I can guarantee it.
Mhm.
I don't even know what the story is. If they say anything bad, they're wrong. Hacksaw is a saint.
You always hear that about him. That he's just the nicest guy. I've never met him, but you always hear that
Yeah,
as fans for sure. Um,
yeah,
and I know that you obviously won't be able to share anything on this too, but I know that there's been some teases of an additional line. Is that something that can you confirm or deny that you will be a part of whatever that line could be potentially in the future? Not asking to reveal what it is, obviously, but is that
yeah,
something that you would be potentially involved in?
yeah.
Okay,
That's all I'll say.
that's
Yes, I'm involved.
okay. Which I mean I kind of assume so with everything that Matt and Brian have going on with figures that you would be involved, but okay.
Yeah.
Can we expect the fans of you guys, can they expect to know, okay, when anything will be announced, or is that still kind of on the table for when that could possibly be?
We had a big production meeting yesterday, TTD, Brian, Matt, and myself, and I'm going over the schedule. But basically almost filled up of what we're going to be doing for 2025. Um, this new line, I think is really cool. Um, Before Matt takes credit for it, it was 100% my idea, and he told me no several times, just like Big Rubber guys. um, um, but we don't know uh, when it'll be out yet. It's still early stages. I don't even have a prototype in yet, um, but we're slowly working on it because um, how can I explain this? Google has an 80-20 rule. 80% of your job, 80% of what you do daily should be your job, and then 20% is something that you work on the side that you enjoy.
Mhm.
Now, I enjoy everything, but I
Right.
really think this other line has a lot of potential to um, be a cool collectible item for people. And it's not another retro company that everyone's doing. right? I'm not looking to compete against Zombie because I think Zombie is doing the best work
Yeah,
in the field.
there's a lot of
And Zombies,
retros out there, and there's also
yeah,
some not so great ones, and it's a pretty flooded market on that end of things. So it's, I mean, that probably
right,
makes sense, but
right, and I think Zombie's just incredible at it.
right.
Why he legit has the original Hasbro art guy on it. So what's there else to do? Um, but it's something different. I think it's cool, collectible, signable, playable. It checks all the marks. Um, and I'm excited to share it with people um, when it's available, and I think I hope people like it.
For sure. Well, now that we're kind of wrapped up with the major Bendies big rubber guys too, I have to ask you about what other things that you're currently collecting too. We talked a little bit before we hit record on like some hot toys and other things, but
Yeah.
at this point in time, what are you collecting the most at this point, or what are the lines that you're still into that you collect?
I still got the elites. I collect mainly legends on those. I get the Ninja Turtle NECA figures. I have all the retros and Hasbro's and stuff. Um, so I get all that. I'm really into Star Wars. I collect a lot of Star Wars Black Series, and I get them signed, which is a lot more expensive than you would think.
That might be a little bit more might be more expensive than getting some wrestling items signed. I mean, depending on the person, but
Yeah.
that can add
So
up fast.
yeah, I try to do one person. Not I don't try to get every figure,
Mhm.
but they're expensive. I get the Hot Toys, mainly Star Wars. I do a little of the Marvel, mainly Spider-Man focused on the Hot Toys for Marvel. But I try to stick to one look per person of people I like.
Mhm.
Um, Even though I have, I think, three Mandalorians. I don't know why, but I really like Mandalorian, so that's a that's a pass. Yeah, I think I collect OG Power Ranger stuff, and a lot of the new stuff as well. So I have like Hasbro's, and I have the 3016 scale ones.
Mhm.
I have the Super Sevens. Um, yeah, and kind of just focusing on retro nostalgic like stuff
Mhm.
now also, and OG stuff. Like I just bought a sealed Megazord and Dragon Dagger
Oh,
um,
awesome.
from the Misfits toys that Matt and Herman went to on the vlog. I saw it quickly and then I was like, I need that info because I need to buy this shit.
Oh, so
And
that was a recent purchase. Okay, that's
yeah, I actually just
okay.
got it in the mail yesterday.
Okay.
Um, and then I buy a lot of the Star Wars lightsaber replicas. I was at Disney with uh Swoggle and Shoes, and I just got the Darth Maul lightsaber
Mhm.
that was exclusive. And they shipped it to my house because it weighs a ton, but it's so fucking cool.
Sounds like you have the same problem that I have. There's just too many lines. That's the issue I run into is like, okay,
Yeah,
I have, I've been trying to not scale back, but I'm trying to limit what I spend on and like, okay, try to limit some lines. That's my problem is that there's so many good things out there now. And it's like, oh, I can collect 25 different lines, but it's like, how do you keep up with all of them? It's just
yeah,
impossible, but it's just, I buy what I like. That's my philosophy. Not a completist on anything.
yeah. That's my thing too. I'm not a completist. I'm not trying to get all the OG Power Rangers. I'm not trying to get all the Hot Toys, even though I feel like I have. Um, and I don't get all the Black Series figures. I buy what I like, and I'm constantly selling stuff to help pay for the next thing as well. Um, it's just part of the hobby, right? That's what
Yeah,
we do.
it's things. It's there's cycles of like I even think back to like okay, or even look in my phone too, like if there's pictures of like if I
Yeah,
have
same.
screenshotted things, it's like my to-do list. And it's like, oh, like 5 years ago, I was like, okay, I was really into buying this. And now it's like, yeah, I still like those things, but it's like those things change over time. And it's fun to look back on though, too, because it's kind of like a time capsule. Like here's where I was, what I was into at the time.
Yeah, I feel like every 3 months or so, I should probably take a picture of my room and then just store it and create a time capsule that way so you can see the evolutions that you've had of collecting. Because I found some pictures of my old room and it was just like all these Funkos and all these like Marvel Legends, and I, I I barely have any of those things now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some things too. I haven't gotten rid of much, but there's things that I've changed displays up and things like that. But
Yeah,
I mentioned this to you before we started recording. I'm in the process of moving too. So that was one of my goals. Like my room is an absolute mess right now. And I haven't started really packing, but things are starting. I'm like, I need to take pictures of everything because it's like, it's going to look
yeah,
similar, but it's like it's never going to look this way again because I'm going to add some new things in the new house and stuff like that. So it's
yeah,
never going to look quite the same. And it's been fun. Like I looked back when I was in college too, and I had just kind of gotten back into collecting at that point in time, and my collection was much smaller, but still, it's very like nostalgic almost for those times. It's like a good way to kind of reflect back on like, okay, here's where I was, even if it's not just the figures, but that was always obviously been a big part of my life. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Time capsules with for collections, that needs to be something that happens more often.
yeah. It's funny you say that. I just random memory popped in my head. I got back into collecting when I was in college because that's when I was starting to make some um, money,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to afford some stuff. And I remember it was around the time the Power Rangers Legacy collection came out, and I bought the Megazord and Dragonzord, and I had it displayed in my college dorm room. And I'll never forget this girl that I was dating at the time, just like laughing at me. It's like, when are you gonna grow up? And I'm like, I don't think I ever will be. And now, um, I'm 34, owning a fast growing collectible toy company, and I have a tattoo of Jeffrey the Giraffe on my arm. So I don't know what she's doing. I think she's a dentist somewhere. But
I'd say what you're doing is, I
I
mean,
could tell
dentist.
you,
That's a pretty good career too. But I mean, hey, I think
uh,
I would choose your route over the dentist. I think you made the right
I
choice.
can I'm willing to bet I'm having a lot more fun than she is, though.
Yes,
Unless
I would
she's
say.
unless she's Steve Martin in Little House of Horrors, and she's just having fun yanking teeth out. It's I'm definitely having a lot more fun.
Yeah, and that's so my wife and I always wonder too because I've had people that it's a wrestling centric show, but I end up talking figures with lots of people that anyone that collects, I have them on as a guest. Like we always talk figures and
Hmm.
stuff. So I can't remember who I talked to about on this show, but my wife and I were high school sweethearts, so we've been together since we
Oh,
were like
cool.
16. Since we were like 16,
Oh,
and
nice.
so she's like the most supportive. Like someone put in the group the other day too of like, oh, like I don't know, somebody made like a comment about having to do the clean sweep if too many packages come through or stuff like that. And she's like, that's
Yeah.
not my wife like at all. She embraces it. She buys me stuff and like all the hot toys I have, like she bought every single one of those. But um anyway,
Does
but
she
I
have a
didn't
sister?
she does. They're all spoken for, but she does.
Oh,
She does.
damn.
Unfortunately for you, but no, she's a rare breed. But anyway, we started dating when
Yeah.
we were high school sweethearts, and that's probably when I started collecting more again. Was end of high school, early college. So at that point, I was probably 17. We'd been together for a while, and we're like at my mom's house. I obviously lived there at the time, and I had started to display some figures and stuff, but it wasn't anything it wasn't anything crazy. And I showed her a couple figures here or there, but it wasn't this big collection. Like I had childhood toys, but I just started to kind of collect as, a almost adult. And so it was one of those gradual things. It wasn't like a sudden, oh, here's my room and here's, 1,000 figures. It was like, she saw a couple at a time and then it just became a normal thing. So I think that probably helped a little bit where it's a
Yeah.
gradual process. But yeah, you never know. I always wonder what people's reactions are. Like I just had my 86-year-old grandma saw it for the first time, and I've never talked to her about that because just she just wouldn't get it. It just she
Yeah.
didn't say anything, but she came in and just her eyes got big and just like what is happening in here too. Then you got to explain it, and if people don't get it, it's always like, oh, I just sometimes would rather just not even go into it. But
Yeah, I mean, my dad is 81 years old school Turkish man. Um, for years, he didn't understand anything that I was doing. Every day, he asked me when I was going to go to law school or become a doctor. And he used to compare me to this one kid that I went to school with who became a doctor. And um, I used to tell him, I don't think he's happy at being a doctor.
mhm,
and
mhm,
and you know, he just always just joked, when are you gonna stop buying all this stuff? When are you gonna stop buying all this stuff? And now he understands it because everything was an investment for this, and now he sees the potential that this business has because I brought him to a toy convention
mhm,
and here in New Jersey. It was a little local show.
mhm,
I brought him to it, and he saw people, you know, talking to me and asking for photos, and saw people selling the figures at their table, and he saw the enthusiasm that people had for it, and now he gets it. And
mhm.
um one of his friends uh found out what I did and knew about it because his son collects the big rubber guys, and asked him if he can get a Ric Flair figure, big rubber guy,
Okay.
from me. And that's like, that became even a bigger thing. Like,
Mhm,
okay, I understand now. This
mhm.
is He's been working for this his whole life. This is his dream, and he's doing it. So he's actually very supportive about everything now. Um,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, it's yeah, just one of those things that I think that along the way for people that take an unconventional path, that it's
yeah,
if it doesn't fit the mold of what people expect, then it's automatically, oh, that's bad, or that's from parents or friends and stuff. I mean, I think sometimes it comes from maybe a negative place, but a lot of times I feel like it's people just like, oh, they get scared for you on your behalf. It's like, oh, this is something that but
yeah,
once they see that success, it's like, okay, this is the real deal.
yeah. It's like what I said before. I had a lot of friends tell me, "Stop, go get a 9 to 5 job. Stop, go to a 9 to 5 job. You're gonna kill yourself. This isn't gonna work out." Um, and none of them was malicious. It was all of them trying to look out for me.
Mhm,
And it was actually Mark, um, kind of like Smart Mark kind of spoke to me. He called me and kind of like gave me the confidence that I needed to continue doing what I was doing because uh, I casually had text in the group chat, I have this job interview for eBay for managing their card market that they have or whatever. Um, Looking back at it, I'm so happy I did not take that job because I
mhm,
probably would have been miserable there. But you know, I I had all these people say things to me, and they were just looking out for me. It was never in a bad
mhm,
way. And
mhm,
I'm just happy I kind of just ignored everything and focused on the mission on hand, and achieved it.
yeah,
Um, and it's really because of going on podcasts like yours and
mhm,
having fans like you, and
mhm,
all the support from everyone, that I was able to get it done.
yeah.
Um, and also, a lot of hard work and packing boxes.
Yeah, right. You are.
But
I would imagine with you and the people at the post office, you guys got to be pretty tight at this point.
I am very good friends with the people at the United States Postal Service, UPS, uh, FedEx. Okay, they don't like me too much. Um, but it's, UPS, United States Postal Service, DHL. they all they all love me. I'm their number one customer at the United States Postal Service. Now they come and they pick up packages on a certain time, so I don't have to carry them. Um, and if I do carry them over, there could be a giant line going out the door at the post office. They see me, they press the buzzer, I walk right in the back, I drop off the boxes, and I walk right out. Like if I'm Kramer, like they know exactly. We have a whole system
Mhm.
set up, and uh, I'll sometimes go get everyone coffees if I have time, or during Christmas I give out everyone gift cards. UPS, you know, I get them food and water, everything that they need. I
Mhm.
tip the guy sometimes if there's a large order.
Mhm.
So he knows me, he knows my dog, he knows exactly what I'm doing. He takes good care of me. I have a great system with the guys.
Well, Kanik, I could talk to you all day, but I want to be respectful of your time, and so you can get back to all the things you've got going on. But before we get out of here, too,
Yeah.
definitely plug anything you want to where people can find Major Bendies, Big Rubber Guys, where they can find you on social media, all the things.
Yeah, so my social media is pretty easy. It's Kanik89, which is Kanik. Is not pronounced Kanik. Um, and majorbendies.com. You can order our new Major Bendies, which is the Danhausen in a Mumu, um, Maki Ito, and Steve Macklin and his war paint. And we also have, just today, I put up Proposal Macho Man, which is the purple suit Macho Man that he wore when he proposed to Miss Elizabeth. And we also got big rubber guy stands that I just put up, which are cool because they have a sliding mechanism in it, so it fits um, any LJN figure, any WCW original San Francisco toy maker. If it's the Jax LJN figures, it will fit the AEW LJN figures, and if it's big rubber guys. So it's a multi functioning stand for all those collections. Um, and then they come in gray and black. And I'm making a brand behind Broski's back, which is legit URL that I own. But you can just go on canicsmerch.com, and I got a Canic Major Bendy shirt there available to order. That I just got in the mail today, and I quickly put up because I had a bunch of people asking for it at a live show because I made one and people seemed to want it. So I was like, I could do this, then pay for my bar tab.
There you go. Yeah, that works out well. All right. Well, I mean, anytime you want to come back on, open invitation. If there's anything you ever want to plug or talk about a new line or just a chit chat, always welcome on. Thank you again so much,
Thank you.
Kanik, for taking the time to do it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I hope I
Absolutely.
didn't ramble too much.
No, no, that's what the people want to hear. They want to hear all the details. That's what they're here for. All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.